My name is Rich Schmidt, here with Channing Frye, Jacob Gray, and Chase Renton. We're at Longfellow Estates, Newburgh. It's January 26, 2021. Thank you all so much for joining us today and for hosting us this beautiful spot. First question for you, and whoever wants to start can start. Why wine?
We'll start that way.
Yeah.
You're the longest wine story.
Yeah, I'm the longest. Wine is, first off, it's a passion. It became a passion early in my life. When I was in college, even before college, seeing it on the table with my family and friends all around growing up. Meals, entertainment, parties, something you share, something you gather around, something you can look back on as history. So for me, it was always around. And then I just so happened to stumble into the wine industry and study, and then become a winemaker and just follow this passion that is a job, but at first and foremost, it's a passion. And followed that and took me on a journey all over the world, which was very fortunate to do, and then fortunate enough to settle down here, roots in Oregon, and start Longfellow, and then other projects have formed out of that as well within the wine industry.
It's almost like why not wine? Yeah, similar story. Chase and I didn't even grow up that far from each other, and I think we both had parents that loved wine, and especially when they had dinner with friends, they loved to share wine with the people that were around them. Even have family friends that were winemakers. So I grew up in Davis, California. Napa and Sonoma weren't that far. I wouldn't say I was in a wine family though, in the sense that I knew I'd ever work in it. I was definitely drinking cheap beer until I was old enough and had enough money to understand that wine meant something to me. And then I was in the movie business for a while, and a lot of the movie business part that I was in was relationship based and creating relationships. And as one of my producing partners would say, like, our job was a 10-year dinner party. And I think if you know anything about a great dinner party, you probably want to have some great wines at that table. And I think wine is a connector. It's something that creates conversation, lends to conversation, and then when you start falling in love with the product itself, it takes you all over the globe. Thankfully, a lot of the best wines are grown in the prettiest places by some of the most amazing individuals and tribes and people. So I think the more I learned about it, the more I became fascinated about it, the more I found that it was like part of my truth. It was something that came very like natural and authentic to maybe my personality and who I am. And then I think it's just been a big part of getting to share it with the people I love the most. So if you fall in love with something and you're passionate about something and you believe in something, you usually want to share that with the people that you love the most. And I think when you get into this story as you are, you'll see that those three things kind of lend yourself to why we're sitting here. Honestly, his wine story helped start my wine story, who probably helped start his wine story. Like, we all are interconnected, and I don't think if Chase didn't like literally pursue his dreams, and sure, timing and things lead us to becoming friends and all that, but I've had the opportunity and the privilege to kind of participate in Chase's dream and opportunity, and then those things have sprung all these other things that have happened. So it's been really cool to watch happen, and why not wine? Wine's a pretty incredible thing.
I mean, I didn't grow up around wine. Wine was like the thing on top of the fridge that you would get like once a year. My parents were big on like martinis and drinks. Like, they wanted to, have a good time when they did. They didn't drink often, but when they did, it wasn't wine, And so for me, going to the NBA, going to dinner, you order a wine based on like, you ask the sommeliers, like, hey, I'm having this, steak ribeye, but you don't know what it is. And so as I got older, the more I became friends and closer to Jake, the more he was like, hey, try this or try that. And then when he ended up working here, right, and helped build this, then my mind started to explode, right? I was always into the wine tasting scene, right? Because I've never had a bad time at wine tasting. It's impossible. I've been, no offense, I have my own beer. We can go beer tasting and guys get grouchy or sleepy or whatever. And then we can go, I've been tasting of whiskey, tequila, gin, and then people go left and right? You either get way off kilter or you don't. But wine tasting, everyone is allowed to go as fast, as slow as you want to. And your opinion is absolutely right, no matter how different it is for the next person. And so I think to me, that's what originally got me to it, was I can invite people from all walks of life. You come here, we have a picnic blanket, you get some wine, you like it, you do, you don't, but you're still enjoying this place, this moment, and you're talking to each other, and the vibe is right, and the experience is memorable. And so to have the opportunity to work with these guys wasn't like, oh, I want to do this. It was like, well, let's talk about what we all want. And it was like literally like a puzzle came together. And the fact that we have different perspective made me even more excited, right? Because he lives it every day. Now, we all live it every day now, but he's literally, this is his thing. He works here, so this is also his thing. But for me, we all have other things that we do, but this brings us together, and we put so much passion behind it. To me, it's been fun, it's been exciting, it's been evolving and new, and that's just kind of my attitude towards wine.
When would you say you started really drinking wine?
I actually looked. I went into my house the other day, found an old computer, and I have a picture of me showing somebody a bottle of wine from 2012. Now, could I tell you what that bottle was? Hell no.
You know how fast you got drank?
When did you marry Lauren?
2010.
You
Yes.
have that picture at your
9 or 10.
house the other day, the bottle,
Yeah.
the Barolo.
So the first year anniversary, I have anniversary is a 2000.
2000.
Yeah,
2000.
a 2000 Barolo cork. So I was drinking good wine. I just didn't know I was drinking good wine. And then now it's like, right, because I could pay for it. But that's that's just a fact. Now it's like they could say, hey, people go, oh my God, Channing, you had so much wine. But then they'd be like, do you remember our first one? I'd be like, oh yeah, the first one, I didn't like too much oak in it. And that's when it clicked. When I started to remember bottles and situations and friends, I know you like this. I know you love this. I'd love to introduce you to this. That's when I started. And the more that I felt like I know about wine, the more I realized I don't know anything about wine, which makes me want to know even more. I could read books, I could watch shows, I could drink the wine, which is my favorite part. But I don't know, I can't learn enough. And I've really just been diving into the Valley a lot. There's so many good producers here. And I think if Chase wasn't who he was, I don't know if I would have been as passionate, because when I was in Orlando, and first we had a rosé, which is, sneaky. And then we had the Pinot. And I said, what is this? I said, I don't drink no Pinot Noir.
He hadn't bought into the Willamette Valley.
I had not bought in. I was big Cabs and, Bordeaux, and not that those are bad, but I'm saying, but he gave me that Pinot, and I said, hey, yo, boom, big light goes off. And it was amazing. And ever since then, I've been putting Long Glow on everybody. This helped me understand the new generation, the new style of what we would want as, 45, 50 and under, right? It's not just your regular parents' Pinot or Merlot or Syrah or Riesling. New people are challenging your understanding of what wine is supposed to taste like, but also give them respect to traditional methods and things that have inspired them.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think to his point, there's a misconception sometimes about Pinot Noir, especially if you're maybe in the beginning blocks of wine drinking. If you haven't had a great Pinot Noir and you have a not great Pinot Noir and it's flat and it's not a lot of body and it has these things, if you don't know wine well, that might not turn you on to that varietal. And I think for Chan, it was kind of like, all right, and this is a non-Burgundy story, right? This is an American New World story. So it's kind of like, well, if I like Napa Cab and this is what I'm told to drink with a steak, what are these other wines like, and why would I spend time or money investing in them? But I think even before I worked here, when him and Lauren, his wife, so Channing lives in Portland if he's not playing basketball per se. They've raised their kids here. He's always had a home here since he's been a Portland Trailblazer. And I think I could almost probably, if the texts were there, I could align where the day he landed from when the off season started to a week or two later, we're probably wine tasting, right?
Oh, for
So
sure.
what else are we there's not many better activities to do where you can catch up, have a lot of fun, explore the natural beauty of this place, and also fall in love with the product and the people behind it. So I think that the journey's been building and been happening for a long period of time, and I think obviously Chase hyper speeded a lot of that.
Oh,
for both of us.
hyper-speeded.
And then one of the things he's touching on too is Channing's been around through friendship since we've gotten to start this project. And when you see a wine project get started, there's not a lot of wine at first. And when's the next wine coming? And what are these things you're doing? And then in that course, we also, the three of us, have had the opportunity to throw. Chase is a cancer survivor. We all have touch points in our lives, as he spoke to, outside of wine that kind of go like this. Some of those are giving back. Some of those are cancer. Some are there's food. You know, all these things. And we've done a dinner twice now, the Give Joy, Get Joy dinner for the Children's Cancer Association. And for that, we made one-off bottles of Magnums for every participant. And Channing would get in the winery with Chase and make those wines per se, right? Go through the blends, talk about them. And although they were 50 Magnums that no one else in the world has other than the people that came to that dinner, I think it kind of set the tone for comfortability, conversations, and the ability to like ask critical questions, but also us watch how passionate Channing was because a lot of people love the end product, right? It's like, oh, a bottle of wine, it's sexy. Or something, a bottle of beer, I can give it to someone, I can say it's mine. But when you know grape farming and you know all the work that these guys put into to make wine, it's a lot of work. And there's a lot of time and energy that goes into that one bottle of wine or that one vintage. So I think getting to see him fall in love with the process and fall in love with wine, I think it's reinvigorated us, but it's also made this project, Chosen Family, that much more real. Like we're all kind of getting driven off of each other's passions for what we're up to, and we all bring different things to it, but we're all like pretty stoked to be doing it and watching each other do it. Like honestly, it makes it so, I'm a pretty passionate, loud, vocal person, and I will wear my emotions on my sleeve, but watching the people I love get excited about something, it doesn't get much better for me. So to watch Chase get to do his thing and be in his pocket and be falling in love with it and having the opportunity to do a lot of different things, watching Channing get to do this. So for me, sitting in the middle of these two men talking about that as their friend and as their business partner, it's been awesome. I find a lot of joy in that.
It's been, like I asked him, to me, I seem like I'm asking the dumbest questions, but I'm so curious because is their realm of wine people are, I would say, the upper echelon. And then my realm of wine people would be the lower echelon, like, okay, but not in a sense of knowledge. They're like, Channing, is this wine good? I'm like, I've never, how many wines do you think I know? Like, Vivino, that joint? And you tell me what kind of stars it got. Like, I've never seen this wine from freaking Antarctica, you know, like, but I love that they come to me because they're like, Channing, you're into wine, what does this taste like? So I go, okay, where's it from? Okay, it's from France. What part of France? Oh, Northern Rhone. This is a Syrah. What year is this, right? Like, so like I walk them through and then I give them like, for the price, that is gonna be absolutely amazing where you may pay $200 for something that you might be like, this isn't ready yet. So for me, the knowledge that I get every day working with these guys, it does stem from me coming in here with Chase for the Give Joy, Get Joy, because I felt like there was a pressure on me, a great one, of like, this dude is allowing to open up his home to me to make something. Like, he didn't have to ask me. Like, what do I know?
Hey, you could have shut up at dinner.
You could shut up at dinner at the bottle, but he was willing to let us mix. And I think low key, he liked our style.
I nudge you a little bit here and there.
I mean, yeah, okay, you gotta nudge, right? You gotta crawl before you gotta walk, right? You can't have no BS up on the table, right? So for me,
push you in the right direction.
yes, but I understood, like understanding the process of this to the next section, to the next, to that, to barreling, to the lees, to do all these crazy words that I can't use on my friends, has been amazing, and I'm constantly learning. And it's like, the more I learn, the more wine tastes better. The more I learn about the process, the more delicious and the more I respect each wine. Even though I may say, hey, this isn't my style, but I don't think it's bad, right? Unless it is cheaply and poorly done, I will never say a wine is bad. I can just be like, or unless it's like actually like, bad. I mean, it's like, corked or something, but that happens. There's so many variables. The fact that you get good juice in bottles consistently is amazing. And I think people just take that for granted, right? It's like, if we didn't have all these services that would ship wine to New York and Texas and California, how else would you get to see this place, right? You would have to drive up here, or you'd have to fly up here and hear about it. And I think it's it's just amazing to me the opportunities we have to give people amazing place from the plots of lands that we're allowed to work with.
Yeah, grape farming to wine drinking, the journey of that's pretty incredible, right? And I think there's segments of it that some people pay attention to and care about more than others, but I think and for me, getting to work harvest with them, not being in the wine industry previously, having a friend that's a winemaker and owns a beautiful piece of property in Dundee Hills, and kind of like experiencing the boot camp of it and the blood, sweat, and tears of what their Super Bowl is per se, and what drives what the consumer ends up getting to share, store, do, drink, whatever it may be. I mean, it's a pretty incredible process. And then the more you dive into like that thing leads to, oh, what year is that? Or I collect and this vintage from this place and this winemaker with this fine farming style to this winemaking style to neutral oak French barrels in the Dundee Hills. Like just the idea of all that, and then being able to take that knowledge and sit at a table and share it, and it harkens some of the most amazing moments you can have with people.
I mean, we're sitting here, right? Middle of a pandemic. Are we supposed to say that? Yeah. Middle of a pandemic.
We already told the date.
Yeah.
You already told the date.
Middle of a pandemic. It's snowing. We're like in a snow globe right here. There's people helping us in the vineyard pruning right now. So we're starting this next cycle of next vineyard life, basically, for the 2021 harvest. In the winery where we were earlier today, we were trying the 2019 harvested wines, so 2019 vintage wines that are going to go to bottle in a few weeks, finalizing those wines. So it's just an evolution that doesn't stop, and it's awesome. Yeah. It takes so many hands. I mean, if you think of how many hands go into a single bottle of wine, it's pretty incredible.
So Chase, it seems the story kind of starts with you. So let's start with you and kind of your background before here. What you mentioned kind of falling into the wine industry. Tell me about that and about sort of the steps you took between there and now.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, like I said, growing up around it, my dad was a hobby winemaker, had a small vineyard in Napa actually when I was growing up, like 1 acre, that he sold fruit to another pretty well-known winery, and then they would just return him wine basically for his cellar. So I was semi around that, but not really consciously. The rest, I mean, happened when I was in college. I was studying in Florida, I was studying psychology, ended up traveling and studying abroad, took a wine course, fell in love with it. In Florence, Italy, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Florida.
I was studying in Florida, undergrad. Then I studied abroad in Florence, took a wine class, fell in love with it.
But that was in Italy, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, in Italy.
Fell in love with it, came back, my senior year of college, I ended up working at a wine bar just to learn more, just because my passion was there. It was just something I thought was incredible. And then I just so happened to graduate in one of the worst economic times of the last century, probably the top 3 in that kind of 07, 08 time. So what I did was I went and worked at Whole Foods in the wine department there, and then from there that was a really brief time before I went back to Italy and studied for another 1.5 years over there. Didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it. It wasn't calling to me to become a winemaker at that point. I just was following a passion of something that spoke to me, and ended up, working over there, and decided to come home and go work. I worked at Stoller here in Oregon, and then travel abroad and work in Burgundy and Italy, in California. So I kind of traveled around, and I just so happened, my dad was a hobbyist, as I said, so he kind of had this dream of owning a vineyard at one point, but I kind of nudged him in the right direction. I was living in Italy being like, hey, we should really invest in a little piece of property over here. I'll stay, tend to the vines, I'll do all that kind of stuff. And he's like, you know what, they had moved from California to Oregon. My sister was having grandkids, they moved to Bend. I was like, well, if there's one place, in the new world that I feel like makes wine at such a high caliber that can almost feel like old world wines, it's Oregon, and that's one place I would really want to make wine and settle down roots. And so we bought this 25 acres here in the Dundee Hills. We planted it. We bought it in 2012. We planted it in two successive years. Really didn't know how much fruit we were gonna sell, how much wine we were gonna make. From day one, we've made all the grapes that we've produced off this property. So it's kind of been a big evolution, whether it be business-wise and how we grow, or what equipment, what needs. Just starting a small business, like anything, has all of its caveats and everything that has to be done. So yeah, and then it just kind of snowballed, and now we're here.
Snowball keeps going.
So
I would, just two quick things. I would love to have known Chase when he didn't know he was going to be a winemaker, because if you know his personality and if you know his palate, he's a winemaker. So it would be interesting to know the young man that loved wine but didn't think he would be, to us, one of our favorite winemakers. And then good nudge to Holland's Renton, because it's been a good
yeah, I don't know if I wanted to start a wine shop, if I wanted to
But I'm saying I
get
didn't know you
into
then,
importing wines.
Well, you
and
explored it all.
Yeah.
Also, will you tell them where you worked at in California and Italy? Do you mind if you tell them that? Because it's not like you just worked anywhere.
No, I worked at Costa Brown in California. I worked at Domaine Pierre Naigeon and with Mark Heisma in Burgundy, who's in Gevrey-Chambertin. Then I worked in Umbria, Italy, and have since started a small Italian project with my best friend who I met while I was studying over there. It's a project called L'Ignoto, which means the unknown in Italian. Just basically because when we started in 2014, we were two unknown young winemakers and just basically making a single vineyard, 100% Sangiovese from Tuscany.
It is
If you remember at
delicious.
Longlow, you get first access to it.
It goes quick. It goes quick.
Real quick.
But
It is
yeah, so
unreal.
I mean, it's just, I don't know where
You
I
have
started.
some here right now.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know I was going to become a winemaker. I took some classes and stuff like that, and it was an option. But then, once you work your first harvest, I also feel like you either are like, yeah, I want to do that, or you're like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. And for me, it was like, all right, after a week later, looking back at it, I was like, that was kind of cool. And then a year later, when you see the first wine that you've ever had a hand in making, even if it was you were just sitting on a sorting table all day or what you were doing, but just knowing that you were there for that, it's just special.
What do you consider, what is your first vintage, or first harvest, sorry? Where were you?
2011
Where?
in Italy.
10 years later?
No. Where was I in Italy?
I don't think I've ever asked you.
2010.
2010? In Umbria or?
And then I took 11 off, and then,
In Umbria or Tuscany?
Umbria.
Umbria. Come on, dude.
I'm a gringo, I apologize.
And Jacob, tell me a little about you mentioned kind of your pre-wine life. Tell us about your pre-wine life and what got you here and what got you involved in this.
From Davis, California, born and raised. Migrated to Southern California through college. My mom's younger sister was an independent film producer, which just really means she's a movie maker but doesn't have a studio financing all of the projects. I got out of college with a degree and definitely didn't know what I wanted to do. And I thought I was going to move home to coach high school basketball and work with my dad. And my mom sat me down and said, "You're an idiot, go be yourself and go take on the world," type of thing. And that aligned to getting to go make a film. So my aunt had bought the rights from Warner Brothers to the biggest selling fictional golf book ever written, called Golf in the Kingdom. And Golf in the Kingdom happens and takes place in Scotland, the story. And if you know anything about Oregon and Southern Oregon, there's some famous golf courses called Bandon Dunes, and it looks like Scotland. So instead of us going to Scotland to make a movie, they brought me to Oregon, and I made a feature film at Bandon Dunes, which was an incredible experience. After that, we did post-production at Warner Brothers Studios, so I moved back to LA. But in the midst of that short, brief story, those were years of my life, I fell in love with Oregon for sure. I was living between Eugene, Bandon Dunes, and Portland, had friends up here and playing for the Timbers, doing different things, so I met Channing during this time as well, I believe. So Oregon just kind of, being a California kid, if you had told me in my 20s that I was moving to Portland, Oregon, I'd tell you you're crazy. But I hadn't experienced it. And so I think it found me at the right time. I fell in love with it. I moved back to LA for all the right reasons. But in the process of living in LA, which was for, the second stint was for 3 or 4 years, two to 3 years, being in the movie business and all that stuff. I loved it. I had a great experience there, but I think I always knew I wanted something different. And my now wife was from here. So we stayed in touch. I moved back to Portland about 9 years ago now. And in those first couple years, I was still going back to LA all the time for work. I decided that at some point I just didn't want to be on that plane or doing the things that I was doing. I wanted to find something that I could call home per se here. There's many iterations of that story, I guess I could tell, but I always loved wine country, and I thought wine country was gold in an aspect. I thought all these amazing things were going to happen here. I loved the wine, I loved the small business aspect, I loved meeting the people. My mother-in-law at the time worked at the Allison, so I saw kind of like what the potential was for the valley and hospitality maybe. Me and some friends started looking at property out here to do a boutique hotel, which only happened in theory in a sense. During this time, me and Chase met. First time we ever met was playing golf, so randomly just showed up on a tee box, played golf. We both are pretty good golfers, so I think instinctually we just had a little fun chirping away. Didn't know what either of us did, just had fun getting to spend 4 hours on a golf course together. That turned into meals and conversations and all that, and then he invited me to work his first harvest, which was 2015. So the first grapes picked from this piece of property, and then I got to do 15 and 16 harvests with them while they were building a tasting room. And I think between 15 and 16, they allowed me the opportunity to kind of ask questions. How are you gonna market it? What are you gonna brand? What are you gonna strategize? Like, how does this work? What are you thinking? And I knew that the wine quality, I always believed, and I think he could probably speak to this, if being around talent my whole life, whether it's athletes or actors or writers, whatever it may be, there's just, I don't want to say the hit factor, but you just know people that are passionate enough to get what they want, and they have the skill set. And I think, I don't know if I've ever said this to Chase, but I think he knows it in what we've done with our careers, but I believed in Chase Renton. I thought his vision and his palate and his instincts were spot on for what this property needed and what I think where the valley was going. And then I thought our personalities hopefully could complement each other. And off to work we went. So 15 and 16 were harvests, and 16 and a half, 17 we opened this place. Mm-hmm. And we had very little wine, very little SKUs, but we had something to share, right? And I think the beauty of the crazy thing about the film industry is you have intellectual properties and you're always trying to project that you're going to make something to share with people. And I think in wine you always know, other than fires and things that you can't control, Mother Nature, that hopefully you have a product to share every year that you're super passionate about. And I think if the farming's there and the winemaking's there, you're always going to have something that you're stoked to share with people. So I think getting to be being a part of a process of building a small brand, launching a business, and then sharing something that I loved. I always loved his wine and I always loved this piece of property, and I loved the Willamette Valley. So I think just kind of hit home like some things, some touch points for me. And then off to the races, man. I mean, we've always kept it pretty lean around here, always been a pretty core group of people that worked here that tried to have each other's backs and care about each other. And we've built a little team around us, and you know, we're at about 2,000 cases a year, have a pretty loyal membership, and a tasting room that's open 5 days a week. And with that, there's also been other things. I mean, we could talk about the CCA dinner and the dinner series we did with some of our favorite chefs in Portland. I mean, I just think that it lends itself to a lot of the things that, whether we're getting paid to do them or not, are the things that are our focal points, which is bringing people together, food, wine, conversation, storytelling, all those type of things. And then chosen family, I think, is just like the perfect storm of those things. And then you throw in a 7-foot NBA champion that loves wine, and thankfully, we call it chosen family. Anyone can project what this thing is, but I mean, I think there's like a true friendship and passion and love for each other that led to an opportunity to bring wines to the world that we love as well. So I think all these things are just, they all speak to themselves. Like they're all kind of a part of the same storm, right? And, I'm just proud to be a part of it. It's been a lot of fun.
And the 7-footer to your right there, about your story before wine, obviously some of it's pretty well known, but
I mean, I'm gonna skip through a lot of it. Probably a lot of it's on like Wikipedia, but like, okay, grew up playing basketball, literally nothing else. And then I got drafted to New York, played 2 years in New York. And the honest story was I went from the University of Arizona, 4 years there. Everything was very, like the best of the best, you know, like Everybody was good teammates, great coaching staff. And then I went to the league and it kind of hit me in the face that this is business. And so for me, I was trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And I just didn't understand the business of basketball. And so my whole attitude changed when I got traded to Portland. And on the plane, I remember it, I was pretty hungover because I said goodbye to all my New York friends. And I had a Bloody Mary, and I literally prayed to God, and I said, listen, God, I'm here, I'm humble, I just want to be happy again. I just want to be happy, play basketball, and win. And that is it. I don't need extras, I don't need a lot. Because New York, you could go out any night. SNL parties, Maxim parties, Sports Illustrated parties, anything. You can get anything you want, any food, anything you want. And I just realized that's just not me. And then I came to Portland, and one of my best friends, the only girlfriend I ever had in college, a girl that was a friend, not my girlfriend, but was Raleigh. And she called me when I got traded, and I said, are we gonna go out? And she goes, Channing, it's Tuesday. And I said, well, you don't have a job, what's up? And she was like, yeah, we'll go out, and I'm gonna bring a friend and bring my brother. And I was like, okay, but I don't wanna go to a tree hugging or a granola tasting party. Swear, and she'll tell you the same thing. So I land, I go to my hotel, Raleigh comes, I've known her brother, I've known Raleigh since, college, so now I've known her 6 years. And my now future wife walks in. So I think that's her brother's girlfriend. So I'm like,
Eddie, doing all right.
Eddie, you doing all right, dog? And I hit him with that. So we go out, and now I'm gonna speed this up. I fall in love with Portland. Everything about Portland, like the people. I'm from Arizona. I love that there's rivers, it's green, there's seasons. People appreciate being outside, doing the simple things. And now I've been here. Yeah, I didn't even really play, but they would see me out eating and talking, and I would have people wearing my jerseys. I'm like, dude, I'm not even playing. Okay, you just wasted $57 on a C. Frye jersey, but okay, good for you. But I love it, and I felt that reciprocated love, and no matter where I went, I always came back. No matter where I went to Orlando, I went to Phoenix, where I'm from, came back. Went to went to Cleveland, came back. Went to Orlando, came back. Went to LA, came back. And now I've been here 13 years. I have 4 kids, still married to the same woman. And Lauren, shout out Lauren. And one thing, there are certain things about Portland for me, away from basketball, that has changed my life, and that is the appreciation of good conversation over good food and good wine. And when I go to different places, whether I go to visit my cousins in Atlanta or Kansas City or New York, they are shocked by my willingness to go outside of my comfort zone, especially when it comes to food and wine. Where, certain people go, well, I don't eat that, or I don't do this, or I'm like, show me your world. And I think Portland has been a reflection of that, right? And I think for me, I am, and my friends know this, I'm on Zillow and Redfin, trying to find them houses to move here my brother goes, Channing, that's $2 million. I don't have $200, right? So to meet friends, I have one brother and that's it. My family passed away, my mom and dad passed away, and the label chosen family is truly, for me, in the words of Jay Gray, an ethos. He knows it, Chase knows it, everybody, if you're in my circle, you know it. When you come to my house, you eat with me, we drink, we have fun, your kids are running around, my house is your house, what's mine is yours. And if I love something, I cannot wait. And they know it. If I love something, I buy one, boom, give me 50 here. I get more joy from showing awesome things, and I've taken that attitude about wine, right? And I ask Chase all the time. Chase is a master and the genius, and every month I'm like, Chase, give me wine that you like. Like, help me learn more and grow more and to understand more, and so that I could share with other people. Because that's what we do, and that's like the ultimate sign of respect is that when you come over to my house, I make sure that I try to have something you would like, or something that I know that you've told me in my brain, and I can't remember many things, I have ADD a bit, that you're like, would get excited about, because I value your time. Like, I value, your relationship, and I value your happiness. I think if we're all happy, the conversations are better. If you're in a safe space, we're all making each other better. Like, Jake can be like, hey, Channing, you need to calm down for a little bit. Like, calm it down. You're too much anxiety, right? Like, we were just talking about the story. I had never bottled a wine before. So now I'm bottling this Chosen Family wine. Hand bottling. So I take a little bit before it goes in the bottle. I'm drinking. Oh, this is delicious. Oh my gosh, this is delicious. I take it home. I go to share with my mother-in-law. And I'm like, Jake, what happened to this? And he goes, Channing, please tell me you didn't open up that bottle. And I'm like, no, what happened? Oh, obviously I know nothing about bottle shock. But then you try it a month later, a week later.
3 days ago.
3 days, right, literally 3 days. But the fact that he can tell me to relax, or Chase can tell me, Channing, this is part of the process. Like, we're all big brother, little brothers at times, and I value that relationship. And outside of basketball, I've never been more passionate about something other than my family. And when people try our wine,
Your friends say that a lot, which is cool.
yeah, I don't just stamp my name on anything, and my name is not on it other than me signing it saying I approve of it. And I hope people understand that, is that I'm going through this process with pros, and I'm learning, and yes, I have my opinion, but I'm not putting BS out there to be famous, other than for the wine. Eventually the wine will be more famous than I am, and that is my end up goal. That we make such good wine that's like, dude, this is Channing Frye's wine. Or this is Chosen Family wine. Oh, Channing has been part of this since the beginning. This was him and his friends thing. That is what my main goal would be, is that people go, that's quality. No matter what they do, they work with the coolest and awesomest people. They make quality wine, and they represent for Oregon and the Valley.
It's funny hearing him talk, and it took me a while because I didn't come up in the hospitality game. But if you just hear like everything he described about himself, and like coming to his house and what he wants to share, like he was born and bred, and I feel like it took me a long time to understand this about myself, because I used it in different facets of different producer, different terms, but it's really being in the hospitality business. It's like caring about people's experiences and wanting to share that with other people and make sure the people around you are having more fun than you are, in a sense. Like, how can I make your life better? And it's funny that like it just hit home, like listening to him talk about it. It's like he was, other than being 7 foot and being able to put a basket and having the opportunity to go live that incredible journey, but like if you hear his soul, it's like it's tended towards this a little bit, right? Like this is a very natural fit, I think, for like how you.
It sucks being by yourself and tasting the greatest wine you've ever tasted.
It's like a beautiful sunset.
It's like, oh, this is so good. Nobody in the room.
He doesn't share anything.
But if you're at dinner, right? I've had dinners where I've had, quote unquote, coming to Jesus moments with people where I go, I did not know that about you. And it changed my whole perspective on not only a group of people, but maybe how I look at like how I want to raise my kids and what they need to have a little bit more of, what they need to be exposed to, their language, their empathy, and that is like, it's been the amazing food that maybe we're uncomfortable with at the time. In Arizona, who grows up eating Korean food? There's no like Korean joints, or Thai food was a thing. I was like, what the heck is Thai food? Like, I've only had Chinese food, right? I live in Arizona. Mexican food, burritos. Okay, what's up? That's me.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, that's it. That's, ooh, Southwest. Yeah, we had burritos this morning. Anyways, but being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, right? And just being empathetic towards your friends and your family. And if they are willing to take you there, it gives them joy. Put your shield down for a second and get it. And I think to wrap this back around wine, I felt that from Chase and Jake from day one. For Jake to send me that wine, the Longlow, and be like, Shane, this is gonna blow your mind. Uh-oh, that guy almost went inside, he cold. For Jake to send me the wine and be like, Channing, I bet you think this is the greatest wine of all time. Right, obviously he's messed with me, but I go, damn, Darwin, this is, what is this? Like, the gears start going.
Chase did us a great service of making our first vintage ever from Longfellow, and made this a little bit of a homer statement, but our 15s were beautiful. And so to have a young site, which is usually counterintuitive to people, old vines, having a young site with young vines and a great first vintage was really cool to share with people, because it kind of shifted the paradigm of like how people thought about wine, and it also put us in their subconscious quickly. Like, you weren't scared to share it with people. It didn't need 5 years before we're like, oh, just wait a little while. It was like, no, let's check out what we made.
Oh, yeah, check that out. Listen, what? Them things are flying off the shelf. Yeah. Right? Even on my team plane, it was like started bringing bottles of stuff. Like if we had a fly, we had a day off. I'm like, I want to drink this wine in the afternoon, go to dinner, maybe have another one, and then just go chill. But then all of a sudden it became the culture where we would share, watch film, talk, and everyone would bring different bottles of wine. It was wild. And you get people from, I was sitting next to Jose Calderon and Kyle Korver and even Birdman, right? Who you wouldn't think would, no, like not judging a book by its cover.
Just because of tattoos?
No, I mean, no. He's, no. But even he would bring,
expect him to be a wine.
You wouldn't, but he would go, oh, y'all drink a wine today? Here, I love this one. And you'd be like, why? Oh, I was in Aspen and I was snowboarding, because he snowboards, my height. He's like, I was snowboarding, he grew up there, and this guy fell and I ran into him, and he was the owner of this place. He said, my bad, and then gave me the bottle, and I love it. And I'm like, what? Like, how long ago was this? He was like, oh, like 15 years ago. And I was like, and you still remember this one bottle? He goes, yeah, I don't drink wine, but I will drink this wine because that guy bought me this bottle of wine for this. But like, this story is just like, again, the connector between like a moment and like most of the time it's happiness.
On the back of our bottle of wine of Chosen, it says, passion is our purpose, friendship is our foundation, and wine is our connector. And I think it's a blanket statement, but I think it's a pretty true one for like who we are, whether it's that brand or not.
It's a very comfy blanket though.
Put me in it.
It's like a weighted blanket.
I want to come back to your kind of, when you had your idea of Oregon, you had your idea of this little plot of land. Tell me about why this space when you set out and what you wanted to do in the vineyard and in the winery to kind of showcase. What were your kind of initial philosophies for your wine?
Yeah, so I came up in 2011. My sister was living in Eugene at the time, and I kind of made that my home base while we were looking. I used Peter Bowman, who's probably sold a lot of the vineyard real estate around here in the last 20 years. But yeah, we're looking for places. I mean, I looked Eagle Amity Hills, I looked Ribbon Ridge, I looked out west of McMinnville, and then we came to this one spot right here on the corner of Williamson and Dudley. It was 25 acres. It was an old nut orchard until the late 30s, and then it was perfect. I mean, I had always loved Jory soils for one. I narrowed it down to where I wanted some red soil. I just like what Jory soils do, the red fruitedness, the preciseness that those Pinots can have. So that helped me narrow it down after tasting through people's cellars as well. Not saying that I don't get soil envy ever and wish I had different soils. But yeah, this spot was just perfect. It was right in the epicenter, right in the Dundee Hills, which is arguably the most famous AVA in Oregon, just from, the beginning. So Irie and all them. So starting kind of a foundation. So having that history in the back pocket always helps. Having east-facing slope was big to me too. I wanted a lot of early morning sun, not as much afternoon sun to really help maintain acidity. And then we've farmed here organic since the beginning, so farming has been a top priority in making top wines for me. I got to make sure that everything is done right if you want the end product to be right. But yeah, I mean, I just luckily enough stumbled upon it. Mike Etzel was supposed to buy this piece of property back before he bought, I think, Sequitur. He was going to buy this, and then it just fell through. And lucky enough, I came at the right time and got this piece of property, and it's been great. I mean, really what it is, we were lucky that it didn't get turned into homes, because at one point this 25 acres was going to be subdivided into 5-acre homes, and then all the neighbors wrote letters and said, hey, don't do that, let it remain farmland. And it just sat overgrown and fallow for us. So when I came, it was overgrown, lots of blackberry bushes, lots of, overgrown stuff, but it wasn't like it had been a tree farm or something that had terrible chemicals and everything and just scorched the earth. It was very nutrient rich and just fallow and ready to plant. So I think really lucked out with that.
About the philosophy behind the wines in the beginning. You're obviously, you said you poured it in vineyard practices, organic from the beginning.
Or poured in a vineyard. I originally, so for the first few years, I had a consultant, Isabelle Meunier, who's a very well known, very highly regarded winemaker here in the Valley. Someone who is my mentor, who I look up to as a mentor now. And she helped me in the winery. I mean, obviously I'd worked Harvest around, but I'd never really established myself making my own wine. So having her as a sounding board for ideas or what she was thinking in her eyes and what she had seen in her previous 10 vintages here in Oregon while I wasn't here was extremely helpful. So, I mean, I came from that ethos of old world, having studied in Italy, having worked in Burgundy. It was kind of those stylistic wines that I wanted to make. I really want to take what each year and what this piece of land gives me and not manipulate it, not do anything. So just take the native yeasts that are coming in from the vineyard, use that for native fermentations, not heavily over oak things. So only use minimal new oak, use a lot of more neutral oak to just showcase what this piece of property has to tell. And yeah, so that's kind of my mentality when it comes to the winery.
So Jacob, what did you bring when you came on board long ago? What did you bring to the table?
That's a good question. I think I'm a connector and a storyteller at heart. So I think having a blank slate, I didn't have any preconceived notions. I don't think I had any bad habits when it came to wine. I didn't have like my mind made up of how this needed to be. I think it was more just having the opportunity to live and learn through Chase in real time, and then being able to invite people I love and the world around us to come share in this thing we're building. I mean, having an architectural delight with a badass young winemaker in an organic vineyard in Dundee Hills is a good starting point, And I think it was just where we're going to go from here and how. And I mean, it's been an evolution. It's a constant learning process. I would never pretend to know like I knew everything about POS systems, wine clubs, and like what's next, but I think I have great instincts when it comes to marketing, branding, and how to tell a story and how to connect a brand to a consumer base. But I mean, outside of, I think I'm the perfect consumer. I mean, when we started this, I was in my early to mid 30s. I loved wine. I wanted to make enough money to be able to buy some great wine. I wanted to share great wine at great meals. I wanted, like, what are those things that turn me on? And whether it was here or not, we would go wine tasting on our own. We would go to restaurants and study the wine list and ask questions. Like, I think I've always just had an ear and an eye and an appeal to like what wine country brought, and then I think it's just a constant evolution to it. And I just think, I mean, me and Chase, for as friendly as we are, and as much as we respect and like each other, we're very different personality sets. So I don't think, we've never been in competition at all. And I think in young brands and young businesses, there's a lot of times where people bump heads because they truly want to be each other or they're jealous of each other. And I'm speaking for myself, and I know I can say this on, we don't want to be each other. I don't want to be a winemaker, and I don't think he wants to do a lot of the stuff I do. So I think it's been a great compliment to each other, and then we've tried to find the resources and help to help us along it. And I'm never above asking questions and asking for help or trying to learn more. I'm not an expert in the wine industry. Maybe, I mean, I'd like to think I'm good at my job, and I'd love to think that I bring something to any table that I'm at, but I think it's just been a continuous learning experience. It's been, how can we improve? What is the consumer looking for? How can hospitality be improved upon? And then what does this place lend itself to, right? So I think more of my focus was on the hospitality and the tasting and brand experience, And like, I take to heart what like when someone speaks of Longlow, when someone wears our merchandise, when someone says, I want to take you to my favorite winery, like that means something to me, right? So I think that's the thing I've always tried to like cue in on. But I mean, I don't know what to say that I bring to the table other than myself. You know? Try to stay comfortable in my skin and try to, you know, give my best to every situation I'm in.
I think Jake brings a sense of an aura, right? He has a presence in a building, and I think when you come to anything where you're sharing, you have to feel comfortable. And Jake definitely brings that comfort, like to any situation you can.
I'm very uncomfortable.
I think if you can you only get the best of the people if you make people comfortable. Whether that's in a one-on-one conversation or in a group of 30, or let alone if someone's going to spend their time and their energy to come and try to learn something. All too often, I always like to say that we're here to turn people on to wine, not turn people off to wine. And I would like to, I know for a fact every once in a while wine tasting, if you're not an educated consumer, it can be overwhelming. And I didn't want us to have that. Now, what does that mean? You have to find that, and you have to find your comfortability in sharing yours. But like, we don't have tasting notes because what you taste isn't what I taste, and what you as a consumer, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong because you're not. So I think it was just like, how do we bridge the gap between, I think I want to learn about wine, to like, now I'm comfortable enough to fall in love with wine, and now this is a great place to go on that journey with. So I think it's always been about making people comfortable and falling in love with the brand and an experience. And I think, again, if you have great wine and you have a great place to host people, I mean, that's a great starting block. And then there's just an ebb and flow to this valley and the seasonality to it, to what people are looking for. But what a time to be alive, and what a time to be in the wine business in Oregon. Like, it's been an awesome ride, and it's been an incredible place to live and learn through. And then outside of ourselves, I mean, you speak to Beau Frere, you speak to Kristen, you speak to Domaine Roy, the Lenore, like the list goes on. Like, just a huge fan of the place, a huge fan of the people and everything that it brings to the table. And I think this place is on fire. I think, you know, I think we can always grow in a hospitality general sense, like dining, fine dining, lodging. But I mean, when you just talk about wine, when you talk about quality of wine and quality of human beings behind wine, this place is incredible, on fire. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
I should say, is because it's a big story of Longlow, is my parents, right? I haven't talked enough about my parents. Their passion to allow me to follow, or their, not passion, but their goal for me to follow my passion was what made this all possible. Not monetarily, but just telling me before I even got into wine, go find what you're passionate about and follow that dream. And that's why this place has a name that's actually a little bit strange, but it has a big meaning. Longolo means the corner in Italian. So I did my studies in Italy. I've considered myself Italian, even though I have no Italian in me.
Do you speak Italian?
You understand?
Yeah, I can get by.
That's what he said, and then he's like, understands everything.
But means the corner in Italian. And then my parents also, 44 years ago now, they met on a street corner in California. No, he was he was romantic back in the 60s when when you didn't have all these dating apps, right?
Right.
He went up to my mom on the corner and said that basically he couldn't let her walk out of his life. And luckily for me, they've been together since. They have a loving marriage.
That's a great story.
2 wonderful kids, and they allowed their kids to kind of grow.
It's funny because he tells
Hey, I can't let you leave.
As someone that has ran this tasting room, we talked about his parents every day that we're open, right? So not only do we know them as humans and are they incredible, and have I not at the beginning of this heard and watched them empower their son in this journey and the opportunity to pursue his passions, but like we talk because everyone, to your point, Langolo, Longolo, Laangolo, we talk, the number one thing outside of why is your Chardonnay so good is why does Longolo mean? And so we talk to the name, and there's 3 components to it, which he speaks to his studies in Italy, so we want to talk to that. We're at the corners of 2 roads, so literally the corner in Italy, Williamson Deli Road. And then we talked to the corner guy, the romance behind it, 2 people meeting on a street corner. They used to call your dad the corner guy. He flirted with his mom on a corner, and they've been together ever since. So like literally this place and this experience that there's probably not many people that have tasted wine in this, joined our membership, bought our wine, did anything, whether they did or didn't, that haven't heard our story about Lou and Hans and how integral they were in.
What's crazy is the corner is 3 also. There's 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Wow.
Genius.
And geometry lessons.
Openings in Linfield for Professor?
No. God.
I was thinking Channing didn't want to do it, but he wasn't busy enough. So,
Dude.
tell me about Chosen Family, man, and what kind of prompted that as a secondary project, and Channing, how you kind of came to be part of, came to be part of that project.
Man,
Channing is that project. He's the reason behind it.
I feel like my perspective on wine is unique, but it's not pretentious, it's not unattainable, it is more to showcase things that I already loved, just my version of it, our version of it. Like the people we have the opportunity to work with is because we literally have drank gallons of their wine, right? It's because this guy does something so good. This is such an amazing, we'll start with Longlow. This is such an amazing plot of land. And I've drank so much Longlow. And then when we got to do the CCA event, the bottles, you could you would be like, are they from the same spot? But then you would drink them, you'd be like, okay, I can see the faint similarities between it. That's exciting. That's exciting to give somebody like this, because I think all winemakers are artists at the end of the day, right? They look at something, they look at this, and he goes, yeah, I think I'm gonna put Vadensville down there in block 22, maybe a little Pomard, maybe will be the Chardonnay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I get to be a part of that. We get to be a part of that. And for me, as much as I love wine, is as much as I love giving somebody an opportunity to showcase them as an artist. Because for me, as the winemaker, we're saying, if we give you these grapes, or if you have an opportunity to do something different than what you do every day, but to show its cousin, to show its uncle.
People we're collaborating with.
Correct.
So like a lot of people call them a megaphone for the valley, right? And I think Chosen, like when you see a lot of people source fruit from places, they blend it into their label, right? We as a label wanted to really highlight the people we work with, because the reason we're working with them is because we love what they do. So we wanted our platform, his platform, Chosen Family's platform, to go like, yo, if we work with you, or if you allow us to collaborate with you, if you're nice enough for us to buy some grapes from you, we don't want to say it's ours. We want to work with you to make a wine for us and our audience that hopefully filters back to your own brand as well. Like, I think this was all built out of like simply how can we share our favorite wines and then build a portfolio called Chosen Family that works with our favorite wineries, right? Like as simple as that sounds. Now, not as easy to make happen. We're in the process of doing that, and thankfully the Valley's been good to us.
Amazing.
We have great relationships, and we are good consumers ourselves. But I think we wanted to really like highlight what we love about this industry and the people behind it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times artists like to stay in their
Tucked away?
where they do their thing, right? They're perfectionists. Not only the artists are perfectionists, right? So not every bottle makes it everyone them as happy as it makes us, but as consumers, we want to share the things that we love, and then we wanted to be lucky enough to work with people that we think are dope.
A good example is that we're not selling the gold, we're selling shovels, right? And we are giving people shovels to dig into all the wines in the valley. So not just Longlow, Hazelfern, Granville, and whoever else that we work with. We're not competing with them, we're showcasing them. We're saying, here, you go find your own journey. This is just another expression of what we already love. Now, if you love Chosen, you may mess around and go get a case of Longlow. Because you're like, well, if I love Chosen, I want to see what Longlow tastes like. Holy crap, I like Longlow more. We've won. We've won because it's still us. It's still like, you love what we love. It's not like we're working with people we don't like. And that is what's exciting. And that's why we are, for me, I love not only explaining what we do, but showcasing the people that we do it with and saying like, dude, this dude's cool as shit, man. Like he honestly, we have conversations with them for hours. I go wine tasting and each thing's supposed to be an hour, and I'm outside in snow for 2.5, 3 hours because we're just talking talking and about your family, about the wine, about everything. And it's like getting to know these amazing people and getting an opportunity to work with them and to do something that's special to uniquely us, but for the masses it gets me up in the morning, and it sort of puts me to sleep tonight if I have enough.
So as much,
Stay off that red wine.
as much as we live this together, when do you think you because I feel like we've flirted with the idea of like, wouldn't it be cool to make wine together? Wouldn't it be cool to create our own label? Wouldn't it be, but when do you think you actually knew, we should do something like that?
Right after we did this,
What, the first CCA dinner?
yeah, I was on a plane, and I still have the book, and it's 15 pages deep of thoughts. I was on a 4-hour flight, and
You told yourself
because when I get into something, my personality, like there's no medium part of it. And Jake and Brand, oh yeah, I'm in that water, right? Hey, Shane, the water's fine. Boom, right? But that's me, because you can't dip your toe in this, or you're not going to. If you don't have a emotional investment into this, it's going to be BS.
you like giving your all to something.
Yes, it just can't. And then when people hear me talk about it, they know I'm here. Like when he's like, Channing, I'm doing this. All right, we're running up. Or Channing, let's taste this. Or where else do we want to work? I want to be a part, and I am, and we are, of every little minute, sometimes tedious detail of everything. And
I think that's the misconception Channing probably wants to speak to and should, is that a lot of times when someone has a platform or fame or a last name or this thing, like he could make Frye wines probably with someone, right? There'd be someone that says, Channing, what do you want to do? We'll make everything.
you do a nice red blend.
Yeah, you do, exactly. You just say what it is, this is how many cases, and we'll sell it in this marketplace, right? But to his point, like, and I think what we live and know, but we want the world to know is Channing's is involved in every decision making as possible, and he wouldn't want it any other way. And I think as his friends and business partners, that's been really fun to watch happen and be a part of. Like, I know his passion as a human being, because I know him as a human being. But like seeing him fall in love with the process, from the designing of labels to shipping and compliance, to like asking all the right questions, to like understanding the annoying parts of the business, to the fun parts of the business, to when are we going to do this? If we scale, what does this look like? What are the margins on just there's so much information, there's so much learning, and obviously we all try to support each other in that. But there's not many mornings we don't wake up to a text and go to bed asking each other.
We're like Bryn, and she helps us do so much, and so she needs just as much love, because obviously we started, but we couldn't do this without her, obviously on a day-to-day. And just the process of this has been wild. And just a little story, and not to get off my original thought, was like, I literally drove an hour to drop off, 2 hours to drop off 25 hats. But I was so happy to do it, because I knew that it would be, because it makes me happy to do the work. And that's when you know you're really passionate about it.
Well, that's, for me, what you said about being emotionally invested.
Yeah.
That's how you separate good or average wine or average business, average from something that strives to be better, right? You're emotionally invested. You're not just mailing it in, right? And I think that's huge. And it becomes, you're emotionally invested not just in the business, but you're emotionally invested in how the wine tastes. What actions.
The story between, we were on an email chain of the quarter length of the border from, the color border from the white border of our labels. Do you remember that? And we were like, why do we need to know this? And I was like, me being sarcastic. Yeah, why do we need to know this? 1.25 centimeters is actually what it is. But I remember that because there were different things.
He's seen and been through it all.
Yeah, but
in launching a small business.
Which is also hard during COVID, and we'll talk about that later. Good Lord. It was great. I had never, and wine is crazy because, if it's everyone else's wine, if somebody goes, I don't like this, right? You go, okay, I don't like this. I'll give you something else. But when it's yours, sometimes,
It's a little different.
Oh, that hit a little different. I'm not usually a white wine drinker, and I go, drink the wine. It's delicious. Effing drink the wine. It's A1. But I love that I care, and that I'm like, it's been so much fun. And I would do this every day.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just getting started. And I do it every day, God.
Here we go. Like,
Yeah, oh yeah, here we go, for sure.
So you talked about chosen families being a way to kind of showcase the people you admire or wines you admire. Tell me what you're looking for in partnerships there and what you're trying to showcase with chosen family that's different than what you do with Longlow.
Oh, so I think actually Longlow's, that's a great question, because the elephant in the room when we started was, so if we work at Longlow and if he is the winemaker and owner of Longlow, what's the difference in a partner of Chosen? In the first wines we released is from Longlow, what's the difference, right? Thankfully, the opportunity was that we actually got to go through barrel trials, blind tastings, and figure out a wine for us that we would like to represent Chosen family wines from this specific vineyard, which is Longlow Estate, which we love the winemaker and we love the site. And that, I think, that idea is what we're trying to extend to everything. So let's say we're working with Hazelfern and they source wine. We're doing a Syrah with Hazelfern. They're getting their grapes from Lake Colleen Vineyard. We love Hazelfern Syrah. Now we're trying to source a certain amount of fruit from a place they get it to have Brian and Laura make a Syrah, but we get to be a part of the process. We source some Chardonnay from a certain site to make some Blanc de Blanc with someone as we want, but we get to be a part of the process of the style of that. Let's say we're huge fans of Beaufrere. If we ever had the opportunity to work with a Beaufrere Twitter, if the Etzels were nice enough, what kind of barrels is there to play with? What would be the thought process? We are not looking to tell people how to make wine. We're just trying to show off the thing that we're in love with, but I think it's also an incredible opportunity for a winemaker to add a little touch or to do stuff a little different than the brand that they've built.
Well, I think you build a brand. I have this vision in my brain of what Longlow is, what Longlow tastes like, what it is that I see, right? But to be able to step back and know I have a different, I don't have to mess with the Longlow brand, be like, well, this doesn't taste exactly like Longlow that I'm so used to getting that I really enjoy your style, Chase. And just to see me have a different take on this vineyard, whether it be harvest dates, barrel regimen, anything really.
Imagine giving your favorite artist a blank canvas. Be like, hey, I like the colors blue, purple, and red. Go to work. And whatever you do is perfect because we're going to be there, part of the process, just appreciating you. And I think for Chase, like obviously he's the winemaker. We're not in here every single day, dripping and dropping. We can't, that's just not our realm. But again, we are three circles and we intertwine, in the middle.
We have opinions, that's
Oh, we got opinions. But at the end of the day, I could be like, hey, make it more grapey, and then he got to translate that to whatever that means. But I think the opportunity is amazing for me on this part. Obviously, I got to say this is that the opportunity is amazing for these winemakers for us to come in and say, we already love everything that you're doing. We see the grind. Here's a canvas for you. And allow us to showcase you with us to the world. We may reach 50, 500,000, 5 million people to just showcase you on this certain varietal. And I think it puts pressure on us to, number one, sell it and make sure it's good, but it also is exciting and invigorating. You could probably ask Chase this.
Yeah, no.
That you do something that's different than what you do on every day, and you can put because we do so little, he can make it as technically perfect as he wants to.
Well, it's just
Right?
like what kind of extraction level do you want during fermentation? There's all these different things that, normally, I'm only doing pump overs
Yeah.
during primary fermentation. Maybe I do only punch downs, or I start messing with just different techniques kind of that honestly might carry over into what I do with Longlow eventually. Like 2019 Chosen Chardonnay is a lot more new oak on that than I ever used for Longlow.
It's delicious.
I absolutely love that wine.
Oh, it's
so
delicious.
I might start,
Which we might not have went, you wouldn't want that style over that quick. For sure.
Yeah, so it just kind of opens up
Yeah.
those doors. And
When we did tastings, he thought we were going to pick, out of, let's say we had 10, he thought we were going to pick 10. We ended up picking 2. He was like, dang, okay, I didn't know, I assumed, but okay, I know what you guys like out of this, but that's what's amazing is that he can assume or he can say, hey, this is what I think we should do. And then all of a sudden we agree it's something completely different based on what's happened that year, the weather, the terroir, all that kind of stuff. It's so much fun. It's like we're just all in this bubble together, and where we go,
I think
where
it's
we
an
land.
opportunity to not be held. You don't have to make the exact same wine that your brand is known for, but we love you enough as a winemaker to hopefully show off and play and have the freedom to do as you please, but we get the opportunity to hopefully work with you through that process. And then if anything, I mean, I would assume and hope that our platform brand and marketing savvy would bring new ears and new eyes to whoever we're working with. And if we can prove those metrics, but I mean, we can get into that, and I think that sounds a little cheap at this point, but realistically, you're not going to see us work with people that we don't humanly gravitate towards.
Oh, yeah.
Not only as humans, but also the end product of what that human brings to the world. But we're like,
For sure.
Of course, this isn't. We don't want this just to be a hobby. We're not in this to not be successful because we all have those personality traits. But we're not going to sacrifice that to work with people we don't like because the world thinks they make great wine. So if we're lucky enough to be surrounded with amazing humans that make great wine, and then there's a strong enough relationship or a new enough relationship that's exciting to cross-collaborate, then let's see what happens. And I think we're just kind of trying to stay in that pocket of like our truth, you know what I mean?
Quality is everything.
Yeah, I think the one that we always knew we could promise is, and I think working with Longlow first, we love the wine from here. So I think we felt safe going to market with great wines out of the gate. And I don't think we ever want to sacrifice. I don't think any of us would put our names or our brands on things that we don't believe.
You know how bad I would get roasted for that? Oh,
Well, he talks a lot of shit, so if he was going to make something bad, everyone would love to talk to him.
oh my gosh.
He's got a lot of...
What? But that's our personality is, you know, my friends are coming out with tequilas, gins, beers, clothing lines.
My friends come out with tequila.
Well, I mean, it's a different realm, but
Oh, you know LeBron James?
Oh yeah, I thought that was a subtle drop.
that wasn't a subtle
friends
job.
are
I
coming
mean,
out.
listen, I could know George Clooney. What's up? Y'all don't know who I know. You don't know who I know. You drink Casamigos all the time. Me and GC, we're good. I went to Lake Como 2 weeks ago. No, but it's just like, there's a level of quality that we hold each other to. And the fact that I sent this wine to all my friends, and I know there have been other wines that they've tried that they were like, oh, this is disgusting. But they were like, Channing, what's up? Like, we need more of this. This is,
So expensive, though.
yeah, always, it's good. Like, what? But all at a high quality and not from one person, but from different.
If we can throw the best dinner party in the world and every wine is chosen families, but from incredible producers and sites, from Bubbles to Brunello, like, you know what I mean, and everything in between, imagine that. Like,
I might not make it past
that's the North
appetizers.
Star. That's the North
I'm gonna be
Star, but
asleep.
if we have the relationships and opportunity, I think we just want to like kind of showcase the world
Man.
of wine through our eyes.
But again, we're learning though, because he's not making our Syrah. He's not making our bubbles. Right? And then who knows who's going to make our California stuff. So he is our winemaker for this. And maybe,
Our business partner and chosen.
yes. And so he gets to sit back and taste stuff.
Well, you also can't just take advantage of me and him in the cellar, right? Like having a winemaker know all the information that goes into running a winery and making high-class wines. You're not going to pull the wool over our eyes and from a business sense. Or
Yeah, listen, you're not giving us the crusty
It's nice
barrels.
to have someone as a business partner that doesn't look at everything the way we do and has.
I'm that security guard.
Oh yeah, he's like, hey.
Observing.
No. I see mold on that.
You know, if Chase guys do that, he's going to touch that.
Oh my goodness.
You talked earlier about events being a big part of what you want to do and then have done. Tell me about some of the events you've done so far and kind of what you're looking for in the future as events become a thing again.
Oh, dude, yes. We are big event people. Go ahead. Hit them.
Well, yeah, if we can again. So I think that the space we're sitting in is a great place to host people as a business, but then also throw events. So our members get incredible access. We usually throw 2 weekends full of fun parties a year for our releases, but the world's tricking us into changing that a little bit. We've always tried to work with and highlight our favorite chefs from Portland, which obviously there's an incredible culinary scene in Portland. We live there, so we've had great relationships in that and try to bring that to the valley and into this space to share great food with our wine. And then we've had the Give Joy, Get Joy event, which we've had twice, which was filling this room with about 50 people to have 2 of the best chefs in the world provide a 5-course meal for everyone here. All 3 of us speak, and then we try to raise as much money for the Children's Cancer Association. That night's full of tears, stories, and like incredible, like heartwarming stuff. So we weren't able to do it this last summer, but hope to get to do it again. And then with Chosen, I mean, we've launched a business and a brand in the midst of COVID. So we've really focused on e-com and DTC, which we don't have a tasting room. We don't actually, a lot of people come to Longlow looking for it and we don't have it here. So we're trying to push people to a website. We're trying to ship it to people. But with that said, I mean, I would think that our relationships and the way we like to do business would lead ourselves to doing a lot of pop-ups, a lot of dinners, a lot of wine tastings, and a lot of event-driven stuff for Chosen Family and for Longlow. And I know I had a lot of ideas of other things we were going to do at Longlow Estate, but you're just kind of trying to stay the course, keep your doors open, and find out how to be nimble enough to do business in the midst of a pandemic and in the midst of winter when you can't host people inside. So it's been interesting to say the least, but Chosen, I mean, just who we are as people, I mean, across the board, we just want to share the things that we love. And frankly, we haven't really had a chance to pour our wines for anyone.
We have
literally
yet.
Not opened a bottle and said, hey, here, try this before you buy it for anyone yet. Maybe our friends and family, but even you don't even see them that much right now. So the wine we drank of Chosen has been our own, and then thankfully we've been supported by the people in the world that believe in us enough, know about Longlow, know about Channing, or know myself and trust in our opinions and our palates, hopefully, to buy a product we're passionate about.
I have to give this credit to Jake. At the beginning, I think, you know, me being a competitor, I'm like, all right, we need to sell this in 1 month and 2 days or whatever. And Jake's like, no, we don't. Opposite of that. We want word of mouth. We want as many different people being able to taste this over a long period of time so that they could see how it grows, how it evolves, how we grow and come on this journey. And at first, the first, I would say, month, I probably did not agree with that. I was like, sell this, sell this. So we did great.
I don't
So I was
know.
like,
We'll
it should
see
be
the
gone.
next release, how long it takes.
Right, oh man. But now it's like, word of mouth is like so much more important to me, at least. Because people randomly, we won't get any buy for a day, and the next thing you know, somebody buys 3 cases. And you're like, wait, what? And the guy will text me or DM me on Instagram like, Channing, I just had one of your bottles at my friend's house for this important dinner, right? He got the vaccine or whatever. It literally is a DM I just got like yesterday. I just got a DM. The guy, hey, I just went to his house. We both got vaccine. We're first responders. We love you. You're from Cleveland, or we're from Cleveland. Like, we been saving this bottle for this moment. And they're like, this is amazing. Tell us when more comes out. That is so like in the gut, in the feels. I'm like, man, okay, we're doing this right. We're doing this right. And we're not making a lot. And so I want everybody to have an opportunity to try it, but I also want to reward people for quality. And right now we just can't do 10,000 cases. We just wouldn't.
A lot of people are used to buying stuff in stores,
Yeah.
going somewhere to buy it in retail, and like literally we're just like a small direct-to-consumer e-com brand.
Smaller than small.
Yeah, we made a little bit
Boutique?
more. Yeah, we're very boutique.
Boutique-y.
We have plans to not be as boutique, but we plan on being boutique forever, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're not, our
We're
collaboration.
gonna go from the micro boutique to the boutique.
Okay, there we go. That's 2021, new us.
But yeah, I mean,
Watch out.
there's a lot
Watch
of ways
out.
to move wine, right? And there's a lot of people that use different machines to sell wine and sell it fast, and that's all wonderful, right? However, but once you don't have the product, it's hard to tell a story. So
Yeah.
I think when you're a young brand, you want as many people having the opportunity to share in that moment and in that thing that you created. And hopefully the whole thing we tried to say out loud is we want you to share it with your favorite people. So if you have moments with this wine, hopefully that will make you want to have more moments with your wine. And then hopefully if our first couple wines you buy from us are great, you're going to be willing to go on that ride with us while we release more and more wine. So we have a rosé coming out this year. We have a Syrah coming out this year. Bubbles is a few years away. We have more Pinot coming from here. Behind the scenes, we're working towards some things in the future. So we're really excited about all the things that we're bringing to life. And as you know, with wine, you're always a year to 2 away from a release. So for us to not own a vineyard, but yet to be continuously releasing wines, we're trying to fill those voids and build those relationships so we can have wine to share with people and from places that we love.
I also feel like because we don't have a tasting room, we are so much more social media driven about our
We're
story.
definitely a new age wine brand, and we're definitely
Yes,
visually
and it has
we're
been
learning a lot about
amazing to just learn.
analytics, all the things.
Yep, every 2 weeks we have our analytics meeting. We're like, okay, we got to go get some more people from North Dakota. Like, what's up? They just don't drink wine. You know?
Shout out.
Shout out Mount Rushmore. Listen, what's up? What do they drink? They need some Nebbiolos. But no, I think it's going to help us in the future because whether you like the varietal or not, you're going to still be on this journey with us because we're going to show you from every section of what we're doing, like from the picking to the squishing to the, you know, the bottling to all that kind of, you know, and I don't want to say
creating a lot of
yeah.
We want to help. I think wine hasn't always been as digitalized as where other brands and specific industries are good at, and I think if there's one thing we can bring with the resources and relationships we had is from a storytelling standpoint and a continuous storytelling standpoint and a digital presence and a social media presence. So I think content's really important to us, and the impetus to, like, if you make a 10,000 case of wine, you're worried about how much of that's in inventory, how much storage your costs are. Like, we're making just enough wine to be nervous about how to move it and when we're going to move it, but we get to really sit back and learn and not be in a rush to figure out what works for Chosen Family, what our core audience is saying, and then each release we have someone that actually studied analytics and business analytics to help guide us with the digital age of what we're doing to kind of build out how we can be an e-com brand, right? So when you don't own a vineyard, it's interesting to learn from a business standpoint how to not have as much overhead in the wine industry, right? There's different business models, and when you own a vineyard and you have a tasting room and you have a production facility, that's a 3-tier model. If you don't have any of those things, but yet you have a high-end world-class product and high price points and the internet's paying attention to you, but do all those people buy $60, $70 bottles of wines? No, but what do they buy, right? And so we're not also trying to cheapen our product, but we're trying to learn. And we do want to appease everyone, and we do want to release a lot of great wines.
For sure.
From different price points and different varietals. But we have times, I think, on our side in the sense that we're not in a rush in any sense. We're really trying to live and learn what makes the most sense for this thing that we call Chosen.
Constantly learning.
And who knows? I mean, maybe we will have a retail space one day. Maybe we will have a tasting room. Maybe the tasting room will be in Portland. Maybe it will be here. Maybe it will be in Phoenix. Maybe it will be in Cleveland. We don't know, but like, I think we have the ability to build this thing out. And I would like to think that there's some eyes on it. There's some people asking some really interesting questions, and I think we're pretty excited for some things we might know that other people don't that are coming down the pipeline. So we're excited. Yeah.
That was a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like that. Tell me about balancing that with Bungalow and keeping them separate and yet giving them both like the care and attention that they need.
For me, Longlow is always my baby. So it's the first thing I think about when I get up. Sorry.
No, just
because it's
no, dude, please.
the heart
If
of
you
my,
did not think about Longlow first, there would be a problem.
But like they're completely different, right? Longlow is a certain place, right? Chosen Family Wines is not a certain place. Longlow is here. It's in this tasting room. It's in that winery. It's sold to our members. It's one exclusive place. Chosen Family Wines is, for me, a completely different business model, and it has the opportunity to be kind of multiple places. It can be here, it can be Washington, it can be eventually Italy, it can be France, it can travel. Longlow can't travel out. Longlow will always be these 25 acres right here. So there will never be more than 20 acres of vineyard. 16 Pinot Noir, 4 Chardonnay that go into Longlow. So that is, Longlow's brand will always maintain Longlow, so it has its identity, and then Chosen Family has a completely different identity, completely different feel, branding. It's the same industry, but it's a completely different business.
Yeah, I think they're very different, except that we work together in a sense, right? Like we work together, and then thankfully they support each other in a good sense. Like I think all the things that we've made and all the things that we've done outside of Longlow the brand have all came back to help Longlow the brand and then help the brands that we're creating outside of them. So I think the ecosystem onto itself, but yeah, they're like, when in the future we'll tell how different they are, right? Like they're very different entities and different thought process and different business models. But like, yeah, to Chase's point, I mean, not only does he owns this place, he makes the wine, but like we've lived and breathed this every day, all day for 6 years now, right? And that won't change. That's what we do. And I think Chosen is something that just helped complement that. But we're also very hardworking, constant people. So I think it's been a lot of fun to help have this thing. I mean, it makes us sharper. It makes us better at our jobs. It brings new skills to the table. It also brings the media that we've gotten through Chosen is incredible, right? And I think that helps this. And I also think it puts eyes on Longlow. So I think people ask us that a lot, like, how do you balance that? But I mean, how do any entrepreneurs balance anything, right? It's like, where's your passions lie? How much, like, for me, my wife would tell you, my phone, I'm never not working. right? But I love what I do. So I'm always trying to find a balance to it. But I think none of these things are sacrificing negatively because of each other. I think we wouldn't be doing this if Longlow wasn't in the right spot and our careers weren't in the right spot to explore something like this. I think our hard work has allowed us this opportunity, and I think we're smart enough to know that that has to be the truth.
Yeah.
You don't get into something like this to let other things fail, right?
I'll tell you this, again, Chosen is not selling gold, we're selling shovels. And Longlow is the gold. And if he wasn't deep in that mine, we wouldn't be able to make, right? We would not be able to make, oh, he deep, right? We wouldn't be able to make the delicious wine that we are. And the more that Longlow has a identity, the more that Chosen can be separate from it and equally as good and equally as invested in, right? Because it is us. And then when Chase is down there by himself at all hours of the night, fixing his wine, doing his thing, that's him in his representation. When we go to Chosen, he says, Channing and Jake and Bryn, come on down here, we got to do something. You know, he's like, hey, come on down here, we got to pick some rosé. And we got to go through. And we have to agree as a group of what's best for us. And that's what's awesome. And at the end of the day, they both got jobs, right? And I'm the majority owner, so if they both say, screw you, Channing, I got to be like, I got to take this on myself. So, you know.
That's why you got
That's like, you know,
Be careful.
I'm screwed. Yeah, no. I mean, it would never happen because I think we're all here for each other. And
really
that
is
is the
a
biggest thing.
partnership.
For sure. And that was, I think for me, the fact that we don't step on each other's toes and that I have to ask him for help to understand his portion of the job, or I have to ask Chase about what he's doing, how can we make this better, what do you want to work with, what excites you, where can we take this, how can we challenge you, is that communication comes. And that's what I hope to do with every other winemaker. How can we challenge what we're drinking right now? How can we challenge people who don't know Syrah? How can we challenge people who think champagne tastes the same, right? Who've only drank Cooks and Vouv, you know?
Cooks ain't champagne, but Vouv is, yeah.
I mean,
Bubbles, yeah.
well, to be honest, but people think Cooks is champagne.
Everyone thinks every bubble is champagne.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. We got to introduce them to certain things, but we also have to gain their trust. And that is, I think, if anything is anything, we have to earn that trust. And we are constantly doing that every single day by putting in the work. If you don't put in the work, then nobody's going to trust us.
If you have aspirations to build out business in your life, entrepreneur is an interesting word, but like if we have Longlow and then there's something else we're doing, right? If those things aren't making you better, if they're not making you a better business person for Longlow Estate, then I think you're missing the point. I think that if we're all smart enough to communicate and live and learn through these to make us better at everything that we do, I think then we're winning. And I think that's the goal. Like these things aren't taking from anything, they're adding to it. So I think, sure, we can be more tired or we can be busier, but like we're busy doing the things that our dreams are made of, right?
But I think to come back to his question originally, right, is the difference between Longlow and Chosen where you separate. But I think both being young brands, like Longlow being 6 years of wine, 15 to 21 now. I've been here since 12. And then Chosen being,
6 months.
An infant. So they're young, but it's also like, it's hard to delineate necessarily right away, just talking like this, as opposed to 2 years from now or 1 year from now when we have, different wines coming on board. Then it's like, oh yeah, that's Longlow is just a little like
the most confusion right now is we haven't released a wine under Chosen family that isn't from Longlow. Mm-hmm. So the narrative is
very confusing. Infant brand. So yeah, it's
very and he knows this, and we've spoken this out loud. Someone has asked this question when we did something else. When you're launching a new brand, you're going to be busier than you've ever been. A startup business in any capacity, all hands on deck. Let's go. We got a lot to do and figure out and vet through. So yeah, right now it's so there's an ebb and flow to all of it. But again, I just hope that if you were going to take things on, they sharpen your tools, right? They just make you better at what you're doing.
I can't wait till we get to have dinners, and it's like my favorite time, right? Just the way we do things. It's like,
especially for the pool. I'm looking out at the snow. I'm ready for the pool.
Wait about
Pool
this.
season.
Listen, I was in Cleveland for 3 years. This ain't nothing. You would have snownados, right? My fingertips would turn red and blue.
Glad we
you
have
know.
your truck running.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I told the truck. It's probably moistured up, but that's okay. But no, I mean, it's just an amazing venture that is constantly evolving, which keeps all of us on our toes and exciting and our ear to the ground of like not only what we can make and what our style is, but like the text conversations of, do we want to do a Barbaresco? What does that look like? Who do we want to talk to? Do we want to do a Napa Cab? What does that look like? Who's somebody that we're interested in? Do we want to do a Pinot and Chardonnay from Paso Robles? Do we want to do a blend? These conversations are coming like this. But at the end of the day, it's all relationships. Because we could say, this person does it the best. But then they go, well, they suck. So, okay, who's next? You know, like who else do we like? But we also like get to sit and break bread with each other. As you know, obviously as COVID helps us out, like, or doesn't help us out, but as COVID kind of goes up and down in safe space, it just so like, I think we become best friends, like more than best friends. And because I feel like I never have to worry about you doing your job, anyone, right? In basketball, that's the only thing that messes up teams. It ruins the culture of a team is when you have to worry about, is this guy gonna do his job?
Question is integrity.
Lute Olson is the greatest coach I've ever played under, and he told us one thing all the time. If you had an excuse for something, what was your job? Well, coach, I was supposed to run, but then he ran him. Did you do your job? No, coach, I did. Okay, well, that's why you're here next to me. That's why we lost. Did you do your job? And at the end of the day, when you're emotionally invested in something, I say that a lot, when you're emotionally invested into this, and you're emotionally invested into the success and the quality of what we're doing, you're gonna do your job every day, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're like, man, I'm so tired, or you're gonna do it because you wanna see the success. And I just realized it's only been 4 months. It felt like, I was like, you saw me, I go, January, okay, October, November, December, January. I felt like, man, what? It felt like 2 years. And we've only come out with 2 wines, and this year we're coming out with 2, 4, 6, 4.
Well, we have, yeah.
We got something to work. Look, I'm gonna say 4-ish, 4+. But dude, it's like, grow with us. We're learning this all the time. Feedback is awesome, right? The comment section, the feedback, the stories, the pictures, the content is what we live for. Show us where you drink it. Show us how you drink it. Why'd you wait till, it was crazy, why'd you wait till Thanksgiving to show this? Was it the price? Was it because of you're from Cleveland? Do you like me and I remind you of the championship? Do you know Jake? Do you love Longlow? Like, we want to know these stories. We are very much a give and take about where and why you love this wine, so that we can provide you with just as good wine and different varietals from more amazing people. So when you come to dinner, they're gonna ask you to every dinner when COVID is over, because you're gonna have rosé, bubbles, couple Pinots, couple Chardonnays all over the country. Maybe a Barbaresco, maybe a Piedmont, maybe a Nebbiolo.
I also
Maybe
think
a Barolo?
the culture of wine shifting, right? If we're going to go big picture real quick, I mean, you got an African-American 7-footer from Phoenix, Arizona that's a wine brand owner in the Willamette Valley making really good wine. That's pretty dope. It's 2021. There's a lot of shift going on, and I
lot of
think
pressure.
the fact that, I mean, you should see some of the marketing or like media platforms that this brand has taken us. And so for wine to be spoken of and to be sought after and to be thought of and to be told stories about in different media platforms is incredible. So I think the ability for like what this is building towards, and we have something I can say this, I'm gonna say the 1 barrel challenge, we'll revisit this conversation, but this is something we've been working on behind the scenes. It's an initiative that will drop this year with some wineries in the Willamette Valley for a good cause. But there's just a lot of things that are happening, and I just think this time in wine and getting to be a part of this with them and to see a majority owned black wine brand from the Willamette Valley and CJ doing his thing, and who's talking about it, who's thinking about it, who else is interested in it, what you know, like basketball magazines talking about wine, you know, movie magazines talking about wine, this thing talking about wine, like it's really cool. It's really interesting. I think it's really going to be really impactful. I think you're watching the tipping point in a way, and I'm very happy. Like to my core, we built this in a different vibe, I'd like to think, and not to take from anyone else, just like what we set out to do, I'm very proud of, and I hope that some of these other things that we get to do, and Chosen specifically, is going to be kind of a barrier entry in a way. So
Whenever I send people here, new people here, like people would DM me, hey, I'm flying in, we have friends in Portland, where should we go? Whenever they leave here, they go, Channing, that was the best vibe wine tasting. Everybody was nice. People were energetic, they were polite. The wine was obviously A1, the view, everything. But the biggest thing that I hear, whether it's vibe or energy or ambiance, is always, you guys are the best. And I think that, I had to come here, I had to obviously see it. I've been here tens of thousands of times, right? And that is, a few. And that to me is something that I think I love being a part. As Chosen, if I was chosen, I love being a part of Longolo. Is that whatever their vibe is our vibe. And I could say that to Hazelfern, and I could say that to Granville, because I think Hazelfern got the best, Spotify playlist in the Valley, but listen, they think we jumping. And they make great wine, right? They have fun in there. Wine is fun, it's not stuffy. It's for you to enjoy this with your family. You're taking time off. Everyone got to work.
I always
We're
say
trying to
you have to
provide.
sacrifice hospitality and a good time for a world-class product.
No.
Just because we're growing, the one thing I ask is make the best wine in the world that you can, year in and year out. And we'll try to take care of the rest, but we're going to do it in a way that hopefully makes people comfortable in learning and asking questions about that thing. Sometimes I think the stuffiness comes from a great product. They feel they have to serve it in a certain way. And it's not that you don't want to know wine and be able to speak to it, and you shouldn't know farming and all the things that come with clonage and soil science, blah, blah, blah. But I think that there's just a human aspect of how do you humanize wine? I get asked that a lot from people that aren't in the wine industry and friends that want to get into it, specifically athletes a lot. They're just kind of like, well, if I have money and I buy great wines, it's like, but how do I not seem like an asshole because I have money and because I bought a great wine? How do you humanize it?
Don't do that, big dog.
A constant journey, but I think it's one of the things I've tried to focus on is just making it very human. And just because you love it doesn't mean that you have to act a certain way.
Well, yeah, and I think there's a narrative change as we move generations in wine sales. I mean, you look at wine studies, whether it's Silicon Valley Bank or whoever, talk about who's going to carry wine forward. And how do we build a bridge to that generation to make them not look at it like their grandparents or their whatever mom's country club necessarily that they go and drink that, but something that's an everyday thing that could fulfill all different types of lives and places and
absolutely
situations.
And we see it all. We try to, our membership covers all those kinds, but we do see a bit of that 25.
Also, if you, let's say you drink a glass of wine a night. If you drink the same glass of wine for 7 nights in a row, you're a psycho. There are you are a psycho. There are too much. It's an honest truth. Who does that? Nobody. There are so many amazing people that maybe we haven't even heard of.
Oh God, yeah.
Give them a chance. Let them tell you their story. People were NBA players, movie producers, a guy who worked at Whole Foods, probably in the meat section, right?
Dude, I was in the wine section. What do you think I learned
He
so
was
much?
in the wine section. He was probably chilling the wine. But no, I'm just joking. But I'm like, dude, there are so many amazing stories. It's addictive to learn about them almost more than it is to wine. They're amazing people that are on amazing plots of land, and you want to get out your house at this point. It's January 26, 2021. You know damn well if you had an opportunity to sit here and have a glass of wine and look at this, this is special, right? And we need to,
people, I mean, a lot of people get turned on in different ways, whether it's the wine store and there's a cool person there that, hey, try this wine, do this. Someone has to sell someone something at some point to make them want to try something with their own money. But I think if you can get out into Mother Nature, the wines always taste the best, the closest to the source you can get. If it's grown here, made here, and drank here, it's the best place to have it. So, and then thankfully a lot of wines, again, come from beautiful places. Get out, go explore. Wherever you live, and funny enough, I think every state in the union has a winery somewhere now. Not that all of them should, but you know, wine is, of course they should. But I'm just saying.
I'll say it. No, they shouldn't.
But
No, they shouldn't.
Look out front is hidden. But I mean, the best place to go try wine is at a winery in a tasting room with people that love that place. And if the passion's there, hopefully that'll fall into your DNA a little bit of like why people love this thing so much.
Channing, I got a question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. I got one last question for the group. But you mentioned a couple times sort of the growth of the NBA wine culture, and I'm sort of curious about that from your perspective. It's something we've always heard about with the Trailblazers, heard about from other players around the league. Tell me about from your perspective about NBA kind of embracing wine and wine culture, and how it's seemed to you.
The joking answer is we started that. The serious answer is we started that.
Who's we?
I mean the 2015-16 Cavs. I think people were into wine, and I think wine has, the more that NBA players have gotten into tech companies, startups, business, when they go out to dinner, you're not getting a Jack and Coke, no offense to Jack Daniels, I think it's delicious. You know, you may get, you know, a martini on the rocks, whatever, a martini, you know, with some olives. But these guys are ordering big time wines. And all of a sudden, as big as you feel on a basketball court, when they start ordering things that you don't understand and using a language that you don't understand, for a lot of guys, it makes them uncomfortable. And what do NBA players do? They go and research, and whatever he just drank, he's getting 50 bottles of it, and he's learning, he's flying there. We are medium, uneven in the head like that. And so that translated to all of a sudden where you were the lowest educated person when it comes to wine at a dinner with a bunch of Fortune 500 guys, you go to dinner with your teammates and you're like, I got you tonight. And you introduce them to that wine. Now they're like, oh, I never heard of this. So now you're the big guy. And all of a sudden that starts to build. So now all of a sudden, guys' education about wines comes to, when they're on a plane, they're reading books about wine. Because now they're already in it. So now it has nothing to do with anything else except for their own enlightenment and enjoyment and collection of something that may or may not be delicious. But it's like, this should be because I like this producer.
You're going to spend a lot of money and you can't read a wine list. Fear your thought process. So if you have the ability to travel a lot and you're in great restaurants, you're going to want to learn that language. And I think that
Think about Greg Popovich. They ship in a wine list, specifically for him. And he spends tens of thousands of dollars a night curating the experience for his teammates. Or teammates, God, he's the coach.
Culture that want to
his
get
coaches.
Right?
But all of a sudden that splinters off. So we would, you know, I'd bring a bottle of Longolo on the plane. Me and Kyle Korver would drink it. Everyone's like, Jenny, what's up? You ain't got no wine for us? I said, listen, look, I don't know.
Was it ever about like one up, and like I know this? Like have
At
you
the
guys
beginning?
ever had this? Like
Yeah, at the
like,
beginning.
look at what I found.
At the beginning, but then what happened was I crushed that because I brought in Oregon Pinots versus Burgundies. Now they're getting Burgundies that aren't aged 30, 40, 50 years, right? 20 years. And I'm bringing in ready to drink Oregon Pinots 4 or 5 years old. So I cheated a little bit, but I'm introducing them to things, oh, I don't drink white wine. That's stupid. That's stupid. Let me show you a white wine you like. Oh crap, I love this white wine. Then I had a podcast. On a podcast, we'd always drink wine. And guess what, Channing? They sent me the list. No, we need the concierge to go. I'd look up, go to this store, get A, B, C, D. We're gonna get these 3. I know he likes these. So all of a sudden, to get back to the general about NBA wine thing, guys could drink a delicious bottle of wine and still perform the next day. Guys can read about wine, drink the wine, put the cork in it, put it in their handmade special cases with their glasses and everything, wait till next day after a game and drink it again and taste, write their notes down. It is something else that they are challenging themselves outside of basketball to be elite at.
They start collecting them like cars.
I went to Bordeaux for the first time 2 summers ago, and I had an opportunity to go to Petrus. And the son who was the winemaker at Petrus was like, "Oh, Jimmy Butler just got here." He was like, "Yeah, he was here like a couple days ago." And I was like, "What?" And all of a sudden, it starts getting out that Jimmy Butler is a big-time wine guy. Same with Mello, same with Braun, same with Paul. You know, D. Wade obviously has his own wine. And so for me, I go, "Hey, I'm in the right place. I'm in the right place." And I thought Petrus was the greatest wine I've ever had in my life, but that's neither here nor there. But we're always challenging ourselves to learn more, be better, and something as awesome and has so many variables like wine is, like, I don't want to say gets us going. If you like it, you're going to love it. You're right? If you don't like it, you'll probably still drink it because it's delicious.
Yeah, and then I think if you're around these guys enough, not like their bodies is their business, right? So it's like if you're not a wine guy, but yet if you've played in an NBA game, these guys stay up really late at night because you can imagine that adrenaline dump, travel, all the things. So drinking something to relax your mind and body is a part of the process. Whether that's none of my business, but I'm just gonna say that's the truth. But Red Bull vodkas don't feel as good in the morning.
Woo!
Jack and Cokes don't feel as good in the morning. So as you age, as you have more dinners, as to him, the business acumen of conversation, but then you still have to perform the next day, not only are you gonna have a great bottle of wine or two, a better conversation, a better meal, and you're gonna feel way better in the morning. So I would like to think that played a big part of like, yo, we can do this and this happens, and I'm gonna go win an NBA championship and I had a bottle of wine the night before. Like, it didn't affect the things that you're so conscious about. And I think partying and drinking at some point, as I like to say, when we got in our 30s, our dinner table became our nightclub. We didn't go out as much, and I can't speak for Channing or the NBA, but I just slowed down a little bit, and I think wine helps that. It helps I want to feel a little better, and there's a great conversation and learning process.
And also the coaches didn't really get too upset if you shared.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah.
Because the coaches are ex-players, so they're like, "Oh, it's just about," like, and in all seriousness, an NBA player could drink a lot of wine, work out in the morning, take a nap, and be ready to go. You drink some other stuff, either you're getting super fat, right, because of the carbs, and that kind of messes you up, or other stuff got you where you can't even lift your head up to wake up, you're passed out. So if you're drinking good wine, if you're really into it, max 2 bottles which are shared. Right? And you're going to bed and you're coherent. It's a weird marriage.
But do you think that was a part of it blowing up a little more though? Was that understanding?
Oh, for sure. Because a guy would bring on a nice bottle and coach would say, "Hey man, let me get a sip of that." He goes, "I like this year." I remember I went there.
Yeah, they're not coming to take shots.
George Carl, obviously Pop, Mike Brown, all these guys own vineyards out here, Rex Hill, all this stuff. So all of a sudden they're going to tell us we're not allowed to drink wine when you're literally a wine owner. Let me get a sip of what you making.
Pop wrote Channing, or Chosen Family Wines, but Channing a nice email about getting in the business, and we sent him a bottle and he drank it. And for me, it was written to him, was really cool.
This is the best.
He's the godfather.
He is by far the godfather. By far, not even close. He got it framed for Christmas. It was awesome. I mean, I appreciate it because at the end of the day,
Rookie of the Year in the wine business.
He did not have to do that. And I can imagine, think about all the people that have tried to get in the wine industry. He did not have to do that. Like, we've had conversations. He gave me a huge hug when I retired. I've always wanted to play for them. Obviously business didn't work out. But the wine industry, what he's done, and set the precedent for that and the quality of stuff. Because I've had people who have coached for him, played for him, and the wines that he's bringing out are like this guy's specific library. He will give it to you. He's going to bring it here. And just that enthusiasm, legend, is unmatched and will never be matched no matter how much guys are into it because he's been doing this for 50 years.
He's
60
top
years.
5 in the world of someone to sit and have dinner and drink wine.
What?
I
Oh,
hope you make that happen for us too.
I would say top 3.
Yeah. He gets to order the wines too.
Yeah. Listen, look, not on my bill.
Usually we get the wine list.
Yeah, that's on Spurs' bill. Listen, look, what's up? All them times they beat us. Look.
So last question for you guys. What's next for Longlow? What's next for Chosen Family? We talked a little bit about the future.
Ooh, I'll
already,
let you
but
finish
what's
this.
the next step?
Longlow is just kind of staying the course, obviously, pandemic-wise, hoping we can open back up and hoping we can, host guests and host people traveling in and tourism and all that, start back traveling to different markets and, restaurants. I mean, they've been hit the hardest, so it's obviously, hopefully supporting those restaurants and also, getting people back to restaurants drinking wine, and that helps both of our businesses. So I think that, and then just, harvest is always bottling. It's either bottling or harvest, always on the horizon. So we have bottling, and then, a growing season about to start. So, Longlow will continue here to farm this 20 acres and take the wine from here and take the grapes from here and turn it into wine, and share it with as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah, there's nothing like human energy. So being in the hospitality business and not getting to see people from all over the world having the time of their lives in front of you, and you getting to share those small moments. And I've always said, like, the conversations I've gotten to have in this building day in and day out, are incredible, right? And then you're getting to do it over something that you're stoked about and you're passionate about, and that you're sharing with them. But the industry, I think, is in a great place as far as long as we can get out of this pandemic. It's been a really tricky, interesting time. Obviously, we've learned from it and tried to be as lean and smart as we can be. And I think there's always ways to take your little pie chart and get better in certain areas. But I like to say sustain and gain, right? Like, how do we keep what we're doing, the core of it, and then how do we get even better? So I think we're just kind of focused on staying the course in a good way, like always progressing, always learning from what we're doing and just getting better at what we do. And I just can't wait to see these doors open and people inside and outside. And we have adopted an appointment only thing, which I think we might do forever. Just what you see in the customer service, like not even the customer service, but what you get back from customers in the ability to kind of host in that capacity. It's been really interesting. So we've learned a lot. So I'm excited for that. We have some ideas of how to kind of grow this place without growing it from a production level, of being able to see people and focus on our hospitality and make sure we're delivering an incredible experience to people. And then Chosen, frankly, we're just getting started. I think we have the world's our oyster.
We have no rules.
Yeah, we got to stay the course, make some smart decisions, but also just keep the passion at the forefront of, like, hopefully getting to collaborate with people we highly respect and deliver incredible wines to people who ever follow us, right? So a new set of eyes, new set of ears, trying to just kind of always broaden the horizons for the wine industry as a whole. Not taking that on, but hopefully we're just a part of that. And I'm just stoked, man. I'm happy to be sitting in this chair surrounded by these guys, living in Oregon and going about our business. It's a really cool time to be here and be a part of this industry and getting to kind of like pursue the dreams that we think up of and implement at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'm a happy fella. I'm excited for what's next.
What are you excited for in the future, Channing?
I'm excited that I have an idea about what it is, but that's it. I'm excited, obviously, working with them, that if I don't know something, I know one of these three do, which is very comforting. But I'm also excited that, like, it's been 4 months and we're now in a bunch of different conversations about what's next. And those conversations are, without actually physically going somewhere, is amazing in our industry, right? And I'm going to say our industry because I feel like we're creating a new industry. I feel like we are doing something right, that people are taking notice that we're doing quality wine with quality people, and we're doing it the right way. And we're not trying to sell 1,000 bottles in a day. We're trying to make sure that people are showcased and winemakers are showcased, and that they are, better or worse term, loved on. And, like, it's not us. We are nothing without somebody who inspired us, especially when it comes to the varietal, right? And I think, Chase has been amazing to work with so far, and allowing us to, like, learn from him and what gets him excited and what is going to challenge him, and how we can do something different than what he does on his day-to-day. And for me, it's just like I have to fend off people from trying to be involved. Everyone loves this. I think they love it, but they don't know how much work it is. Right? They love it. They love the idea of it. But for me, I love that like people are excited about it. When we're starting to see people 2, 3, 4 times order the wine, that is more important than you ordering it once. You love it? Oh, 2 times. Then you start seeing people send it to their friends, send to their mothers. This is, holy crap, this is good. What'd you think, buddy? I wasn't gonna waste my time on no BS. So that's what's exciting, to continually keep that high level, amazing wine, even if the price isn't what it is. We're gonna make high quality wine for you, for the consumer, for the chosen family customer. And just come on this ride with us. That's what I'm excited about. We're just learning.
This is what's exciting. Hearing this guy say that stuff, having this guy in this industry, and caring about it this much, and kind of wanting to be a part of it from A to Z, and then being a megaphone for it, and wanting to share it with his friends that want to share it with the world. We're in good hands, man. I'm excited watching him be excited. It's really cool.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you all so much for your hospitality, for your stories. This is a pretty awesome spot, and a nice day to watch the snowfall after you guys talk. So thanks for your stories, thanks for your time, and we'll let you off the hook.
All right, thanks.
Cheers. Thank you
Sweet.
very much.